Ethan lay on the grass of his small backyard, staring at the night sky. The stars twinkled like tiny jewels scattered across the black velvet of space. He always loved watching them. It made him feel small but also alive, in a way nothing else could. Tonight, though, something felt different. There was a strange hum in the air, almost like the world itself was holding its breath. He adjusted his telescope, hoping to see a meteor or a satellite passing by. Instead, his screen flickered, and a tiny pattern of lights blinked in a rhythm that felt almost deliberate. Ethan frowned. He had studied signals before, but this was unlike anything he had seen. It was precise, organized, almost like someone or something was trying to communicate. For a moment, he thought he was imagining it. But then a voice, calm and gentle, spoke in his mind. "Ethan, we have chosen you." Ethan froze. He looked around. No one was there. The words echoed again. "We have chosen you to help us save our world." He blinked. The rational part of his mind told him he was hallucinating. Maybe the late-night study sessions were catching up to him. But deep down, a strange certainty settled in his chest. This wasn't a dream. Someone was calling him, someone far away. Before he could respond, a bright flash of light appeared in his backyard. Ethan shielded his eyes. And when he looked again, he saw it. A figure shimmering in the air. Not human. Not quite solid. It seemed to float, and its shape was graceful, almost like liquid light forming a humanoid figure. "Do not be afraid," the figure said. Its voice was like music, calm and warm. "I am Leora, an envoy from Zetheria. Your world is connected to ours in ways you do not yet understand." Ethan's heart pounded. He opened his mouth to speak, but found no words. Finally, he whispered, "Why me?" "Because you carry what we need," Leora said. "Our planet is dying. Our people are losing the ability to continue our species. We have searched the galaxy for someone like you, and we found you." Ethan shook his head, trying to make sense of it. I'm just a normal guy. I'm not special. I can't." "You can," Leora interrupted gently. "You have qualities that are rare. Your species is strong, resilient, and adaptable. You have hope. These traits can give life to Zetheria again. You are the bridge between our future and extinction." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. He wanted to step back, to run away. But something in Leora's voice anchored him. He had always dreamed of space, of adventure beyond Earth. But never like this. Never like being chosen by an alien species to save their world. He swallowed hard. I need time to think." "You have a night," Leora said. "And then the choice must be made. We cannot wait much longer. Our time is short." The figure faded, leaving a soft shimmer in the air. Ethan sat in silence, staring at the sky. His mind raced. Could he really do it? Could one person make such a difference? And yet, the thought of helping an entire world stirred something deep inside him. By morning, Ethan had made up his mind. He packed a small bag, told his family he needed a short trip he couldn't explain why, and waited for Leora's return. At exactly noon, the air shimmered again, and Leora appeared, radiant and calm. "Are you ready, Ethan?" Ethan nodded, his nerves tingling with a mix of fear and excitement. I am." Leora extended a hand. As Ethan took it, the world around him dissolved into light. He felt himself lifted, carried through the air, then through space itself. Stars, planets, and galaxies blurred past him. The Earth disappeared behind a curtain of colors, and then suddenly, he was standing on a platform of smooth, shimmering material. The air smelled faintly sweet, with a warmth that reminded him of sunlight on his skin. He blinked, adjusting to the light, and took in his surroundings. He was on a planet, but unlike anything he had ever seen. The sky was pale blue, but streaked with shimmering colors, as if the atmosphere itself was alive. Towering structures rose around him, made of materials that looked like glass and metal combined. Rivers of glowing water curved between them. It was beautiful, serene, and overwhelming. "Welcome to Zetheria," Leora said. "This is your new home. For now. And perhaps for much longer." Ethan swallowed, feeling a mix of awe and anxiety. He had always wanted to travel beyond Earth, but he hadn't imagined it like this. "It's amazing," he said finally. Leora smiled. "You will learn to love it. But first, you must understand our plight." She led him to a vast chamber where a group of Zetherians waited. They were taller than humans, with smooth, luminous skin and eyes that glowed softly. Their expressions were calm, but Ethan sensed the weight of their concern. "Our world is dying," one of them began. "For centuries, we have lived in harmony with Zetheria. But our planet's systems are failing. Our ability to reproduce has declined. Soon, our species may vanish entirely." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. He had read about endangered species on Earth. But this was different. This was an entire intelligent civilization facing extinction, and they were looking at him, their hope. "We have searched countless star systems for a solution," the Zetherian continued. "You, Ethan, have been identified as genetically compatible with us. Your species' resilience can help restore life to Zetheria. But this is not a simple task. It will require courage, compassion, and wisdom." Ethan took a deep breath. He felt the enormity of the responsibility pressing down on him. Could he really do this? Could one human be the key to saving an entire world? Leora stepped forward. "You are not alone. We will guide you, protect you, and teach you everything you need to know. But the decision is yours. Will you help us?" Ethan looked at the Zetherians. Their eyes held no judgment, only hope and trust. He thought about Earth, about his family, about the life he was leaving behind. And then he thought about Zetheria, about the people who had reached across the stars to find him. Finally, he nodded. "Yes, I'll help." A wave of relief and gratitude passed over the Zetherians. Leora's form shimmered brighter. "Then we begin. There is much to teach you, and the future depends on your courage." Over the next few hours, Ethan learned about Zetheria's environment, its fragile ecosystems, and the delicate balance of life that was slipping away. He saw images of forests with glowing plants, oceans filled with creatures that shimmered like jewels, and cities where light and technology moved together in harmony. But he also saw devastation, forests dying, oceans receding, and the signs of a civilization fighting for survival. Ethan felt a sense of duty growing inside him. He had always thought of humanity as limited, fragile even. But seeing the Zetherians struggle, he realized that resilience, intelligence, and hope could make a difference anywhere in the universe. As the day ended, Ethan looked up at Zetheria's twin moons rising in the sky. They cast a soft glow over the city, painting everything in silver and blue. For the first time, he felt truly connected to a world beyond his own, a world that needed him, and perhaps, in helping them, he would discover the best parts of himself. That night, Ethan lay on the platform, staring at the sky. He thought about Earth, about home, and about the impossible journey he had begun. Fear lingered, but it was accompanied by a strange thrill, the knowledge that he had a purpose greater than himself. And for the first time in his life, Ethan felt that being human wasn't just about surviving. It was about making a difference, no matter how vast the universe might be. And somewhere deep in the stars, Zetheria waited, holding its breath, ready to see what a single human could do. Ethan woke to a soft light streaming through the translucent walls of his quarters. The air smelled faintly sweet, like a mix of flowers and warm rain. He stretched and sat up on the smooth surface that served as his bed. Everything around him was unfamiliar, yet beautiful, an intricate mix of organic shapes and advanced technology. He realized he was no longer on Earth. He was on Zetheria. Moments later, a soft chime sounded, and the door opened. Leora floated in, her form glowing gently. "Good morning, Ethan," she said. "Today, you will see our world as it is and understand why you are here." Ethan followed her through wide, open corridors that seemed to hum with energy. He noticed that the walls weren't made of metal or stone. They seemed alive, almost breathing, and covered with patterns that shifted slowly, like liquid light. The corridors opened into a large observation deck, overlooking a vast city. Ethan's mouth fell open. Before him stretched a city unlike any he had ever seen. Buildings towered like trees, their surfaces glimmering with colors that changed as the sun moved across the sky. Bridges and pathways curved through the air, connecting structures without a hint of steel beams or nails. Below, rivers of glowing water moved like ribbons, feeding into lakes that shimmered like liquid crystal. And far in the distance, mountains rose with gentle curves, covered in vegetation that glowed faintly in the twilight. "It's beautiful," Ethan whispered. "It is," Leora agreed. "But beauty alone does not save a world. Zetheria is fragile. Its ecosystems are breaking down. The plants are dying faster than they can grow. Our oceans are shrinking. And most importantly, our people are no longer able to sustain our population naturally." Ethan felt a knot tighten in his chest. How did it get so bad?" "We did not foresee the collapse," Leora said gently. "Our technology allowed us to survive, but it could not prevent the slow decline of life. We preserved our cities, our knowledge, our culture, but without new generations, our species will vanish." They walked through the city, passing Zetherians moving gracefully along elevated pathways. Each one had luminous skin and soft, glowing eyes. They moved with an elegance that made Ethan feel clumsy in comparison, but their faces were warm, welcoming. Curiosity in their eyes mirrored his own wonder at the alien world. "You will meet the council soon," Leora explained. "They will guide you and explain your role more clearly. But first, you must see the land, the oceans, and the sky. You must understand what you are trying to save." Ethan followed her through a transport system that moved without visible engines. It glided above the rivers, over forests that shimmered with light, and along mountain ranges dotted with glowing lakes. Everywhere he looked, life struggled and shimmered in fragile beauty. The forests were thinning. Some lakes had patches of dried mud where water had receded. Ethan's heart sank as he realized the severity of the crisis. "This is worse than I imagined," he said quietly. "Yes," Leora admitted, "but there is hope. Your presence here is a symbol of hope. Your species has resilience and adaptability that can help Zetheria survive. But we must act carefully. The task ahead is not simple." They arrived at a large dome that stretched across several city blocks. Inside was a place Ethan could only describe as a combination of laboratory, library, and museum. Panels of glowing information floated in the air, displaying the history of Zetheria, its flora and fauna, and the science of its decline. "The council will meet you here," Leora said. "But first, you must learn what you can. Knowledge will be your first tool." For hours, Ethan absorbed everything he could. He learned about Zetheria's unique plants, which absorbed light in a spectrum humans could barely see. He studied the oceans, where glowing creatures sustained themselves in symbiotic relationships. He saw images of cities that had once thrived, only to crumble as resources dwindled. And through it all, he noticed something important. Zetherians were brilliant, compassionate, and advanced, but their biology limited their ability to survive under stress. Ethan thought about humanity. Humans could adapt, improvise, and endure almost any challenge. That adaptability, Leora had said, was what made him the one chosen to help. Ethan realized that being human wasn't just about strength, it was about creativity, problem-solving, and hope. After hours of study, the council entered. 7 Zetherians, taller than any he had seen, glided into the dome. Each radiated calm authority. Their glowing eyes regarded him with a mixture of curiosity, respect, and hope. "Ethan," one of them said in a voice like flowing water, "we are the Council of Zetheria. You have arrived at a time when our world teeters on the edge. We understand the magnitude of the request we place upon you, but we also recognize that your species offers what we no longer possess naturally." Ethan nodded. I want to help, but I don't know how. I'm just one person." "You are more than one person," the council member replied. "You are the key to a future we thought we had lost. Your genetic traits, combined with our science, can restore hope. But we also need your judgment, your courage, and your spirit. That is what makes you human, and that is what will save Zetheria." The council explained the plan. Ethan's presence alone was not enough. He would undergo tests to determine compatibility, and he would be taught Zetherian techniques to ensure the survival of their species. It would be a delicate process, combining science, care, and respect. They made it clear that nothing would be done without his willing participation. Ethan felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He was not just a visitor. He was a symbol of hope, and the fate of a civilization rested on his actions. Yet, despite the fear, he also felt excitement. He had dreamed of adventure, and now he was part of something extraordinary, something that mattered on a cosmic scale. Over the next days, Ethan trained and learned. He adapted to the Zetherian environment, wearing protective suits to move in areas with slightly different air composition. He studied Zetherian history, art, and philosophy, and in return, shared stories of Earth and humanity. The Zetherians were fascinated by human creativity, humor, and resilience. In these exchanges, Ethan realized that being human gave him tools Zetherians lacked: flexibility of thought, emotional depth, and ingenuity. One evening, as he walked along a glowing river with Leora, he reflected on how far he had come. "It's amazing," he said. "Your world, your people, they're incredible. I feel like I'm learning more in these few days than I ever could on Earth." Leora smiled. "And yet, you bring something we could never learn alone. Your courage, your spirit, your humanity. That is what will allow Zetheria to survive." Ethan felt a swell of pride and humility. He had come to this world as a stranger, chosen for reasons he barely understood. Now, he was part of a new story, one where he could make a difference. But the council warned that time was not on their side. Zetheria's environmental systems were fragile, and a single mistake could undo everything. Every day, the planet weakened a little more. Ethan knew that soon, he would face tests that would challenge not just his body, but his mind and heart. Then came the night that changed everything. A storm unlike any Ethan had seen swept across the city. The sky turned a deep violet, lightning streaking in colors that didn't exist on Earth. Winds howled through the streets, and the glowing rivers began to rise, spilling over their banks. Ethan and Leora ran through the corridors, helping Zetherians secure fragile structures. The storm seemed almost alive, testing them, forcing them to act quickly and think creatively. Ethan realized that this was more than a natural disaster. It was a test of survival, a chance to prove that human ingenuity could help Zetheria endure. With quick thinking, Ethan suggested redirecting the flowing rivers using temporary barriers made from Zetherian materials. Leora guided him as he worked, and together, they managed to stabilize the city just enough to prevent the worst damage. Zetherians watched in awe as a human, guided by their knowledge but thinking in ways they could not, helped save their home. When the storm passed, the city was battered but intact. Zetherians thanked Ethan, and he felt a new sense of confidence. He realized that being human was not a weakness, it was a strength. His creativity, adaptability, and courage had made a real difference. That night, Ethan looked at Zetheria's twin moons, shining softly through the storm-cleared sky. He felt a connection to this world, to its people, and to the responsibility he had accepted. He knew the days ahead would be even harder. But he also knew that together, humans and Zetherians could face any challenge. For the first time, Ethan understood the full meaning of the call across the stars. He was not just a guest. He was a part of Zetheria's story. And perhaps, the story of the universe itself. Ethan awoke to the soft glow of Zetheria's twin moons. The storm from the previous night had passed, leaving the city sparkling and quiet. The air smelled clean and fresh, with a hint of the glowing plant's fragrance. He stretched and looked out across the city. The storm had been a warning, a reminder that Zetheria's survival was fragile, and that his role here was more important than ever. Leora appeared beside him. "The Council wishes to meet you," she said. "There are tasks ahead that will test not only your knowledge but your courage." Ethan followed her to the Council chamber, where the Zetherian leaders awaited. Their expressions were calm, but their eyes showed concern. Ethan felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had helped stabilize the city during the storm, but he knew the real challenges were just beginning. "Ethan," the council began, "you have demonstrated courage and ingenuity. But the survival of Zetheria requires more than quick thinking. We face challenges that must be solved with precision, wisdom, and collaboration. You will be a crucial part of these solutions." Ethan nodded. "I understand. I'll do my best." The council outlined the next steps. Zetheria's environmental systems were failing at an accelerated rate. The rivers, while stabilized after the storm, were still too low in some regions. Crops of glowing plants were dying faster than they could grow. And most importantly, the Zetherians' ability to reproduce was nearly gone. They explained that Ethan's presence could help, but only if they worked together carefully. The first challenge was technical. The city's water distribution system had been damaged by the storm. Ethan worked alongside Zetherian engineers, using both human problem-solving and Zetherian science. He suggested temporary channels to redirect water from high-elevation lakes to dry areas. The Zetherians were skeptical at first. This was not how their systems were designed, but Ethan's reasoning was sound. Slowly, the water levels began to balance, saving crops and stabilizing the city's ecosystems. "Your mind is remarkable," Leora said quietly as they walked through the city. "You see solutions we sometimes overlook, because you approach problems differently." Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans are good at improvising. Sometimes the best answer isn't in the manuals, it's in creativity." But not all was smooth. The council revealed another challenge. Some Zetherian factions doubted the wisdom of relying on a single human for their survival. They feared that one mistake could endanger their entire species. Ethan was introduced to these skeptics, who questioned his every move. "You are a guest, not one of us," one faction leader said. "How can we trust that your presence will truly save Zetheria? Our survival cannot rest on a single being." Ethan felt a surge of frustration but held his composure. "I understand your concern," he said calmly. "I am not perfect. But I can learn, adapt, and work with you. Survival depends on cooperation, not fear. If we try together, we have a chance." The skeptics watched silently, then nodded reluctantly. Ethan realized that his role was not just biological. It was symbolic. He represented hope, courage, and the possibility that two species could work together to overcome a crisis. Days passed, with intense training and problem-solving. Ethan learned about Zetherian agriculture, energy systems, and biology. He studied how their plants absorbed energy, how their ecosystems balanced delicate relationships, and how the Zetherians' technology could be combined with human ingenuity to restore life. One day, while walking through a glowing forest, Ethan had an idea. The Zetherian plants needed more light to grow faster, but their energy sources were limited. He suggested using reflective surfaces to amplify sunlight and distribute it evenly across the crops. Leora and the council implemented his idea, and within days, the plants began to thrive again. "You are changing Zetheria," Leora said, pride in her voice. "Not just helping it survive, but helping it flourish." Ethan felt a deep satisfaction. He had come to this world as a stranger, chosen for reasons beyond his understanding. Now, he was making a real difference. He began to see that human resilience wasn't just physical or mental, it was a combination of creativity, courage, and compassion. Then came the greatest test. A new crisis struck. A section of Zetheria's mountains, weakened by the storm, began to collapse, threatening to flood the lower city areas. Ethan rushed to the council with a plan. He suggested using temporary barriers and controlled channels to redirect water and debris, protecting the city below. The Zetherians hesitated. "This is risky," one council member warned. "A single miscalculation could worsen the collapse." Ethan looked at the looming mountains and the vulnerable city below. He took a deep breath. "I know it's risky," he said, "but doing nothing is worse. We have the knowledge, we have the tools, and we can work together. We must try." The council agreed, and Ethan led the effort. He coordinated teams, combining human improvisation with Zetherian precision. The plan worked. The debris and water were redirected safely, and the city was saved. Zetherians cheered, and Ethan felt a sense of accomplishment he had never known. But the test was not just technical. Ethan faced an ethical challenge as well. One Zetherian faction suggested accelerating their survival plan in ways that Ethan felt were unsafe or disrespectful. They wanted shortcuts, solutions that could harm the ecosystem. Ethan argued for careful, measured approaches, emphasizing the long-term survival of both species. "You cannot rush life," he said firmly. His words had a powerful effect. The factions listened, reconsidered, and agreed to work together. Ethan realized that his humanity, the empathy, morality, and reasoning was just as crucial as his intelligence. He was proving that being human meant more than strength or knowledge. It meant understanding, cooperation, and hope. The days passed, and Zetheria began to show signs of recovery. Rivers flowed steadily, crops grew lushly, and the energy grids stabilized. Zetherians worked alongside Ethan, learning from him as much as he learned from them. A new sense of unity spread across the city. One evening, as Ethan walked through the glowing forest, he reflected on the journey so far. He had faced storms, skepticism, and danger. He had worked with a species far more advanced than humans, yet he had contributed something they could not achieve alone. He realized that this was the essence of HFY. Humanity's strength, courage, and ingenuity could shine even among the stars. Leora joined him, her form glowing softly in the moonlight. "You have exceeded our expectations, Ethan. But the greatest challenge is still ahead. The biological process we discussed, the one that can restore our species, will test your courage in ways beyond engineering or strategy." Ethan nodded, understanding the gravity of what was coming. He knew that the next step would require more than intellect. It would demand trust, patience, and moral strength. He was ready. That night, Ethan lay beneath the twin moons, feeling the soft glow on his skin. He thought about Earth, his family, and the human qualities that had brought him here. He felt pride, not in being special, but in being human, the ability to adapt, to solve problems, and to care. He realized that Zetheria's future depended not just on science, but on the qualities that made him who he was. As sleep overtook him, Ethan felt a quiet determination. He had passed the first tests of courage and ingenuity. He had proven that a human could make a difference in a world far beyond Earth. The coming days would challenge him even more, but he knew one thing. Humanity, with its resilience, empathy, and creativity, had a role to play in the survival of worlds, and in that quiet moment, Ethan understood something profound. Sometimes, one person could change the fate of a civilization, not by force, but by being human. The morning sun rose over Zetheria, painting the city and forests in shades of gold and violet. Ethan stood on a high balcony of the council's chamber, looking down at the city he had helped protect and the rivers he had helped stabilize. The storm was gone. The mountains had been secured, and the glowing forests and lakes seemed alive with renewed energy. Leora appeared beside him, her light, gentle, and warm. "You have done more than survive here, Ethan," she said. You have inspired hope. Your presence has reminded Zetherians of what they once valued: adaptability, courage, and cooperation. Ethan smiled, but a nervous tension remained. He knew the final challenge awaited him. The Zetherians had prepared for the next step, the one that could secure the survival of their species. It would not be easy, and it would require his full understanding of both science and morality. The council called him to the central chamber, where the atmosphere was calm but heavy with anticipation. Ethan took a deep breath. He had trained, learned, and faced crises, but now he realized that the ultimate task was ahead. "Ethan," the council began, "the time has come for the biological procedure that can help Zetheria flourish again. It is safe, guided by our advanced science, and will give our species a chance to continue, but we cannot do it without your full consent and cooperation." Ethan nodded. "I understand. I am ready." The council explained every detail carefully, step by step. Ethan listened, absorbing the science, understanding the ethics, and seeing how his role could help Zetheria recover. The process required collaboration, respect, and precision. It was not a shortcut or an easy solution. It was a careful act of hope, designed to give life without harm to anyone involved. As preparations began, Ethan worked alongside Zetherian scientists, learning every part of the process. He asked questions, made suggestions, and ensured that everything followed principles of care and respect. He realized that being human meant more than physical or mental ability. It meant understanding the consequences of actions and choosing what was right. While the procedure itself was complex, Ethan's presence brought calm and confidence to the Zetherians. His creativity helped solve small problems that arose, and his empathy guided decisions that technology alone could not handle. He felt a deep sense of purpose. During the process, Ethan was allowed to explore Zetheria's natural wonders one last time before the final steps. He walked through the glowing forests, listening to the soft hum of the plants and observing the luminescent creatures that lived among the trees. He paused by a sparkling lake, watching the light reflect on its surface. This world was fragile, yet beautiful, and he had helped protect it. "You have given us hope, Ethan," Leora said, joining him. "Your courage, ingenuity, and humanity have done more than any technology could. You have reminded us why life is worth protecting." Ethan smiled softly. "I didn't do it alone. Your people are incredible. I just helped in the ways I could." The final stage of the plan began. Ethan stood with the council in a circle of glowing light. Zetherian scientists guided him through the necessary steps, showing him how his presence and cooperation would help their species flourish safely. The procedure was delicate, blending Zetherian science with human adaptability. Every action mattered, every decision required attention, and every movement was done with respect. As the process continued, Ethan felt a sense of calm determination. This was the culmination of everything he had learned: the lessons from the storm, the problem-solving, the collaboration with Zetherians, and the understanding of life itself. He realized that survival was not just about strength or intelligence. It was about connection, care, and courage, the very qualities that defined humanity. Hours passed, though time felt strange under Zetheria's glowing sky. When the procedure was complete, the council and scientists checked the results. The Zetherian population now had a safe path forward. Life on Zetheria had a chance to thrive again. Ethan felt a mixture of relief, pride, and humility. He had faced crises, earned trust, and contributed to the survival of an entire civilization. The council approached him, their expressions soft with gratitude. "Ethan, you have done more than we could have imagined. You have not only helped Zetheria survive, but you have inspired our people to believe in cooperation and hope. Your actions will be remembered for generations." Ethan felt a warm glow in his chest. "I didn't think I could make a difference," he admitted. "But you trusted me. And together, we made it work." Leora smiled. "That is the essence of what it means to be human. You adapt, you create, You care, and you inspire. You are a bridge between worlds, not just biologically, but morally and spiritually. You have shown that one human can make a difference. The next days were filled with celebration and reflection. Zetherians repaired the remaining damage from the storm, stabilized their ecosystems, and began to rebuild with renewed hope. They integrated human insights into their processes, learning from Ethan's problem-solving and adaptability. Communities that had been skeptical now worked together, inspired by the example of cooperation and courage. Ethan walked through the city, observing the changes. Children, young Zetherians born under careful planning, played near glowing rivers. Scientists worked side by side, human and Zetherian ideas merging in ways Ethan had never imagined. He felt a deep connection to this world, not just as a visitor, but as a participant in its story. One evening, he stood with Leora at the edge of a cliff, overlooking the glowing forests. The twin moons reflected in the lakes below, casting a serene light over the land. "It's beautiful," Ethan said. "I never thought I'd see something like this." "It is," Leora agreed. "And it is even more beautiful because you helped protect it. You have shown that humanity's qualities, courage, creativity, and compassion are not limited to one world. They can resonate across the stars." Ethan thought about Earth, his family, and the life he had left behind. He realized that being human meant more than surviving. It meant making a difference, inspiring hope, and connecting with others in meaningful ways. He had left his planet to help another, and in doing so, he had discovered a deeper purpose. The council approached him one final time. "Ethan," they said, "you are welcome here any time. Your presence has changed Zetheria forever. But we also know that your heart belongs to your own world. When you return, you will carry our gratitude and hope with you." Ethan nodded. "I will never forget Zetheria. I've learned so much here, and I will carry it with me wherever I go." Leora extended her hand, and as Ethan took it, he felt the familiar shimmer of light begin to lift him off the ground. He was going home, but not the same human who had left. He was stronger, wiser, and more certain of what it meant to be human. The journey back through space was quiet and reflective. Ethan thought about the Zetherians, their trust, their challenges, and the partnership they had forged. He realized that survival was never about one species alone. It was about connection, courage, and cooperation, the qualities that humans embodied in ways that could change entire worlds. When he arrived back on Earth, everything seemed smaller, familiar, and yet somehow brighter. The stars above were the same, but now they felt different. Ethan had touched a world beyond imagination and helped ensure its future. He had proven that humanity, even one individual, could make a profound difference. That night, he looked up at the sky from his backyard, remembering Zetheria's twin moons and glowing forests. He felt a quiet pride in his heart. Humanity was not perfect, but it had resilience, courage, and creativity. And sometimes, that was enough to change the fate of a civilization. Ethan smiled to himself, knowing that one human had made a difference and that the universe was wide enough for hope, courage, and life to thrive together. And somewhere across the stars, Zetheria glowed softly, alive and renewed, because a human had chosen to act with courage, wisdom, and heart.